sunlight begins to fade now, and I feel like I'm losing time, but I don't know how I'm here. The sunlight has turned to gray, and I feel like I'm losing love again. I don't know how I'm here. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel somewhere you're looking down. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel somewhere you're looking down. 'Cause it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna breathe. And it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna need.
Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the Simracersworld GT Pro Series, brought to you by Mosport, of course live here on Simracersworld TV. We are at the midway point of this season, a season that's brought us some absolutely brilliant racing so far. It's been absolutely brilliant as well, being in the booth with the brilliant Jack Werrell. And Jack, how are we feeling tonight? Oh, there we are. I'll just try again. A little bit of an issue on my part there. Jack, we're live and we're running. And Imola, how are we feeling tonight, mate?
Well, first of all, hello everybody. I'm not 100% sure what happened there, but hello everybody. We are with you now. And Imola, yeah, Hasse, it's a circuit that I haven't driven around. I haven't commentated on before. At least not on the iRacing esports or on iRacing. So it's a unique one for me because I've got a lot of not necessarily knowledge about it, but I know the circuit. Obviously, everybody's heard of it due to an unfortunate incident a number of years ago. But I think from a driver's perspective, it is a really challenging circuit. Just throwing back to the Simracersworld TCR series sponsored by Simortal a couple of months back, a lot of the drivers said it was one of the hardest tracks on the calendar. So maybe that is compatible with the GTEs we've got out on show this evening, and we've got lots to look forward to, Hasse.
I really do believe so as well. It's one of these classic tracks indeed, and I'm so happy to see Formula One returning in real life to Imola. Imola, if you will, to be in the correct nature that we like to pronounce things here in the booth. But anyways, we are at the sharp end of qualifying, and it's sometimes a little hard to keep track of what's going on actually in these qualifying sessions because we spend quite a bit of the session getting ready for the live transmission, then to go live just a couple of minutes before the session ends. We're into the final 3 minutes of qualifying. At the moment, it's Johnny for Hope. He's leading Joop de Ligt and Nicholas Last, then Mario Yuri, and look at that, Ryan Parkins for Motorsport in 4th place. So it seems that at least Ryan Parkins has really found some pace. But one thing that's really worth noting as well here for this qualifying session is, Jack, for the first time this season, I think we're seeing a lot of drivers serving the qualifying ban that can aid in reducing your number of incident points for the season here, as this is Tom Methrel, who's having a spinner. And that is suboptimal indeed. But just to come back to that, we do have a 60 incident limit, if I'm not completely mistaken, for the entirety of the season. And when talking 10 races, that's really not a lot. So I think we'll see an interesting race, a different one than the earlier races. And talking about standings a little bit as well there, let's have a look at the championship standings. It is here Martin van Loosenhout leading Johnny Verhoop, Joop de Ligt, and then Mario Yuri and Bram van Putten, who missed the race, still within 100 points of his leading teammate. And I do apologize for the Martin van. Seems that our otherwise very lovely SDK software just doesn't want to display those very long Dutch names that sometimes come along. Anyway, further down we have the Monegasque, Ferris Stanley, we have Robin Deville, Pimpau, Keno Borgagnon, and Sam Bentham, and that is rounding off the top 10. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this because the session is about to end. And I'd like just to have a look at this final bit of qualifying. You can have a look at the point standings here just for yourself and see what you make of it. It's very close at the top still. It's very, very close for those midfield position as well. And I think we've seen some absolutely brilliant stuff here. So into the final couple of seconds, Jack. And what does it look like to you here?
I mean, for me, the standout of this qualifying session is that none of the G-Drive cars, you did mention that some of them are taking the incident or the qualifying ban to gain back some incident points. If you don't start the race, or if you start from the back, you will gain back 10 incident points, of which all of the G-Drive cars, Bram van Putten, Pim Bauer, and Martin van Loosnord, championship leader, are all still in the pit lane and haven't posted a provisional qualifying time, which is quite interesting because you'd have thought that Bram van Putten wants to get out there and get some points back. This is a massive hit for Johnny Verhoeven, going full send over the curbs, and it clearly didn't work for him, straight into the wall. But Bram van Putten, I was expecting him to qualify because he needs all the points he can get. Like you said, 100 points behind his teammate now, and he didn't appear at Mosport. Neither did Ferry Stanley, and I can't see Ferry Stanley on the timing screen at the moment, so I'm not quite sure what happened to Mr. Stanley. No, I've just had another look through. I can't find him either. So Ferry Stanley missing 2 back-to-back rounds so far, missing Mosport and now Imola. Bram van Putten starting at the back, so he's got all the work to do. And championship leader Martin van Loosnord also starting at the back. So it's going to be a busy hard race for the G-Drive guys.
Yeah, it really is. They're going to have a lot of work, and it's going to be right cut out for them. They're coming into this one. And just to see just how they get along with that. But to be fair, I do think it's going to be a solid race and a solid show indeed as well. And I noticed that we had a bit of an issue with the replay transition, and I do know what the issue is. And as soon as I have the time to just delve into it and fix it, I will do so immediately. Or not immediately, that's perhaps a bit of a lie actually to say, because I don't have the time right now. So we've got other things to do. But just to say, I am very much aware of it, and I will fix it when the opportunity arises. Anyway, we got the final couple of cars coming across the line here for the qualifying session. Is this the checkered flag? Here is Joop de Ligt, and I don't think he is. Joop de Ligt, 1:37.9. I was about to say differently, and then the graphics updated and said that's a perfectly timed pole position lap for the Manatee Racing esports driver. Here is Marc-Antoine Thibault for Abruzzi Esports in the Ferrari. Oh, he goes wide, and that's going to pick him up an incident point. Nonetheless, I don't think that lap is going to count. And he dives into the pits as well. Martin van Rooijwijk for Simpact. I think that looks pretty much like an in-lap to me as well. And then it won't be long before I'll be able to hand you over to Jack Werrell for the readout of the starting lineup.
Not long now. We've just got a couple of guys completing some of their flying laps by the looks of it. We're looking at Martin van Rooijwijk at the moment. There's David Fuller going into the pits, deciding that he can't improve upon his time, and the qualifying time, or the qualifying session, is over. There we go. We've got the grid for round 5 of the Simracersworld GT Pro Series. So Joop de Ligt with a very last minute pole position, 6,000ths of a second quicker than his Manatee teammate Johnny Verhoeven. Nicholas Last only 900ths behind the Manatee front row in P3. Mario Yori 3 tenths behind the pole time in P4. Ryan Parkins and Sam Bentham make up row 3. Robin Deville in P7 and Tom Mettrell P8. Marc-Antoine Thibault and Neil Cooper make up the top 10. Ewan Marshall and Diego Hames P11 and P12. And I think, there we go, we do have more for you. Daniel Handover at P13, Bod Boland in 14th, John Barnes, starting in 15th, Martin van Rooijwijk in 16th, Jeremy Hessels, Andries Mujdi, there we go, put my teeth back in, make up a Dynamics Racing row 9, and Jordan McClone and Lee Deemer make up the final row in the top 20. John Tusting, P21, Paul Gosling, P22, David Fuller, who we saw dive into the pits last minute, not wanting to improve his time, in P23, and Ryan Walker right the way down in P24. Martin van Loosnoord, the first of our non-qualifiers for G-Drive in P25. Bram van Putten, his G-Drive teammate, alongside in 26th. Jack Ashton, 27th. Keep an eye on those three because they'll be working their way up through the order. Seb Herbera in 28th. Bart Daleman, 29th. Pimbau, also a G-Drive car, deciding not to qualify today, starting down in P30. Austin Greatorex in P31. And Matthias Temme, I believe, rounds out the grid.
And so it is indeed, Jack, and we're just waiting. We're about 20 or so seconds before we get the grid rolling. We need just a few drivers to grid their last minute grid for Joop de Ligt. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's going to lead off his teammate Johnny Verhoef. Onto lap 1, it's going to be an interesting side indeed. And it's going to be a tightly packed squeeze into the first couple of chicanes. It's not the widest of tracks, and there's not a lot of runoff either. So, as we see, there are 5 drivers starting from the pits. So they're not going to be on the grid per se. The safety car, and this is one of the newer tracks in iRacing, mind you, so we won't have the entire lap of warm-up here at Imola. Just a few corners, just the final sector. Just enough to maybe just get a little bit of heat into the brakes, into the tires as well. Just try and find that grip. All important here. And all important in, well, in every racing car, to be honest. Anyway, the halfway point of the Simracersworld GT Pro Series about to get underway here. And I think they've floored it at the front. And a very good start for the Manatee cars. And green flag it is. And what a beautiful shot here. Let's try to get the entirety of the field here along, because I really like that start-finish line shot here. But Joop de Ligt keeping the lead in front of teammate Johnny Verhoef. Then Mario Yuri, Niklas Last. Then it's Ryan Parkins, Sam Bentham, Ryan DeVille in 7th place with, I think it's Neil Cooper in 8th. Then Marc-Antoine Thibault, the Canadian, and Tom Methrel in 10th place at the moment. Diego Hames is in 11th. And Ryan Parkins, another good position here for the Strasse Porsche Sport car. We've seen run at an increased pace over the last couple of races. The Porsches who've really been suffering under the BOP, but indeed a very clean lap so far. A very clean opening bit of the race, I think. We have had, however, just as I say that, an incident involving a couple of cars. That's Bart Bolan, that's Tom Methrel, I think, as well. And Neil Cooper might have been involved in this one as well. This looks like a terrible one. Here it is. What happened to Tom Methrel here? Oh, he's on the outside. He manages to keep that under control. And he is indeed still running here. Bart Bolan, though, not really in a good place. And Joop de Ligt still at the head of affairs. And Niklas Last there with close company. And that's Mario Yuri, teammate right in front of him in the 252 car. He's going to be trying to sneak up the inside here as they pass the start-finish line. Is it going to be anything? Not really. And Jack, we're seeing a patient approach, I think, to the start of this race. And I wonder how things are going to develop through this one.
Well, it's looking like it's going to shape up to be a very, very close race, because for the first time in a long, long while that we have got 2 teammates at the front of the grid. Obviously, we've seen this before with the G-Drive pairing, but 2 Manatee cars, P1, P2, 2 Sim Racing Academy cars, P2 or P3, P4. Look at this, Tom Methrel with a team change to Team 11 up the inside of the Meraki Racing Porsche of Ewan Marshall, promoting himself up into P10. But at this point in the race, with Joop de Ligt just sneaking pole away from his Manatee teammate, I think Johnny Verhoef will be playing rear gunner at the moment, just trying to keep the SRA cars behind. And people have started in the pits. I thought they were starting at the back of the grid, but no, starting in the pits. Martin van Loosnoord, Bram van Putten, Bart Daleman, Pimbau and Matthias Temme all started in the pits. So I want to see what approach these guys take, because we know the pace of the G-Drive pairing still nose to tail are Loosnoord and Putten, trying to fight their way back up through the order. And obviously Pimbau will be following 4th. And now looking at Jordan McGlone in that beautiful, beautiful looking and beautiful sounding Porsche 911 RSR for Team Simpact. Continuing on to go on to what will be lap 2. Hard on the brakes, a very hard braking zone into that downhill left hand of the penultimate corner. Ewan Marshall go around the final corner in another Porsche, and I think the Porsche is slowly starting to work their way up through the order, Hasse, and this is great to see, not just for the championship, but for Porsche themselves, because they've been consistently in the mid-pack. But look at that, Ryan Parkins all the way up in P5. This is what we want to see.
Absolutely it is. It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm at a little bit of a loss to why it's not showing the correct Team 11 liveries. I'm afraid I just don't have the heart to give you all 30 seconds of all white cars right now. So just imagine that beautiful white, black, and Bordeaux Team 11 paint job on the 911, as well as that BMW of Tom Methrell it is. But the Porsches indeed are improving, and that is quite the pleasure to see. Here is indeed a Porsche, but with close company from Sam Bentham in 6th place in the Ford GT. And we've touched upon this before, Jack, but the Strasse Porsche Sport 911 looks absolutely brilliant indeed.
It really does, hopping over the curbs there at the chicane, and it looks like the Porsche has got the upper hand when it uses those curbs. I'm not sure whether the Ford of Sam Bentham behind has maybe got the confidence or is as comfortable in the car to use all the curbs, but we know Ryan Parkins is quick. He's had some good performance throughout not only this season, but we've got to remember he was the debut series champion of the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series. Let's see what happened to Pimbao into the double right-hander uphill. Oh, it looks like he might have just hit a sausage curve. I got a bit of snap oversteer, nothing too major, but continues on now. Look at this, going into the first section. Sam Bentham diving to the inside, late on the brakes. Can he get the move done? No, decides to tuck back in behind Ryan Parkins for another few laps. And at this point in the race, you've got to wonder to yourself, is it worth getting the overtake done, or can Sam Bentham just sit behind the Porsche of Ryan Parkins, save a lap of fuel, and maybe get him on strategy?
It's a bit early to call for me, I think. It doesn't really look like he's being held up too bad, but it can be difficult to see under these circumstances if he's really not able to get close enough to the rear end of Ryan Parkins. But we do know also from other series that Ryan Parkins is a very talented gentleman behind the wheel. So wouldn't be surprised to see Sam Bentham, as he goes a little bit wide there in the left-hander. I think would be pretty happy just to sit in behind and try to save fuel, though, as he's heading up towards the Variante Alta, the high chicane, as they're cresting the hill, a very difficult braking zone. Then right, then left, and it's a big old bump on those curbs. It's been such for a long, long time since the introduction of that chicane, basically. And as you touched upon, Imola is a place of legend, and not only for good reasons, I'm afraid. Sam Bentham, though, just about. You know what, Jack? This doesn't look like a driver who's relaxing very much to me. I think he's absolutely on the limit at the moment, trying just to find the pace in the car to really follow Ryan Parkins in front, because we see him just going ever so wide from the corners, time and time again, and tells the story of a man that might be a little bit under pressure. Now we're with the leader, Joop de Licht, still with Johnny Verhoop, and Mario Jurierere in third place. Also Nicholas Last very much still in contention, as we're 7 minutes into the race. It's not been as frantic as we've seen at the previous 4 races, I'd like to say, basically. But I think that has quite a bit to do with the drivers that we've had. Started from the pits here. Martin van Lozenoord is chasing Neil Cooper, David Fuller, and Bart Boland, who had that incident early in the race. But they seem to be quite a bit of weight down now, beginning to catch up to the bottom end of the field, so it's a lot of space to make up, and it's a hard penalty to take. But of course, 60 incidents, you have to be a squeaky clean driver to keep your season overall of incidents less than that here. Oh, I'm afraid we've had an incident for Tom Methrell. And that car has picked up knocks before. And he just goes into the gravel trap there. He keeps it running. And he joins cleanly in front of the Simpac Porsche. Doesn't seem like he's really enjoying that for the time being here. Let's see here, there's still a good battle going on. Here's Niklas last, but the battle is behind between Ryan Parkins and Sam Bentham. Ooh, yet again this time, Jack, look at this. Very close, up the inside into the chicane. And I think this is job done. Yes, it is. Jack, talk us through what we just saw there.
So going up the inside on the run up to turn one, he was in a very similar situation a few laps ago, but this time he got more than half a car length ahead, late on the brakes, just secured the position, took the apex, and Ryan Parkins had to concede at that point. You can't really do much around the outside. So Sam Bentham promoting himself up into the top 5. Ryan Parkins now down in P6, and I think his teammate Austin Greatorex has come to strife because he's in the pit lane, and he's been in the pit lane for a long while. He went into the pits on lap 1 after an incident. I don't think we caught it on replay at the time, but it'd be good to look back at some point when we've got a free minute. But it looks like the Strasser Motorsport cars are having mixed fortunes at the moment. Ryan Parkins very high up the order, like we say, in P6 even after losing that position. He will have Robin Deville hounding him for the rest of the race, only 1.5 seconds back to that Flemish Simsport BMW. And then we've got Marc-Antoine Thibault for a Britzy Esports, and then Jeremy Hessel's quite a way down the order. I was expecting him to qualify higher, but he has gained 8 positions now, all the way up in P9. We saw a good battle, or a good overtake a little earlier on. Daniel Handover and Jordan McGlone swapping positions on the timing screen as well. If we go back to Tom Methrel after this replay, this is Daniel Handover. This is why they were trading positions. There was David Fuller in the background that had gone off the road. Daniel Handover up the inside at the chicane, so gaining another position for Daniel Handover up into P16. And as soon as the camera looks up, this is Ryan Parkins. If we go back to about P14, Hasse, with Dries Mujdi, you will see how many cars are within 1 second. Look at that.
That is quite the worm. Passing the start-finish line, led by Team 11's Tom Methrel. But it's going to be a free-for-all here coming into the first chicane. On the outside is the Porsche of Dries Moody there. And I think Jack Ashton getting involved as well. In 15th place at the moment. And there's the Simpac Porsche of Jordan McGlone also catching up. Danny Handover is going to ask everyone else to hand over their positions as the Excite Ford GT comes up from behind as well. The Demon Tweaks 911 is a part of this gaggle as well, and it is becoming a big one indeed. And Jack, when you get to a group of this size of cars within such a confined amount of space, not only does it become tense, but it also, to some degree, becomes dangerous, doesn't it?
It really does, because you've got to make sure you trust all the drivers around you. And even still, just one slight mistake when you're this compact in a group, it will really close up the gaps. I think Jack Ashton just had a little look there on Dries Mujdi, so making his intentions known. He wants to get by as soon as he can, but we've got to remember, yes, it looks really good from our perspective, but if you're behind the wheel of one of these cars, you're thinking you need to get past all of these cars as fast as you can, because it will slow you down, which I think is what Jack Ashton is trying to say to us at the moment. He's placing the car exactly where he needs to do. Look how close he gets on the brakes. Daniel Handover though just behind him. That's why he was getting close on the brakes. I don't think he slowed it down enough. He's compromised his line on the way out of the final corner, so Daniel Handover will have the upper hand. He's in the draft, so he might just be able to pick off the Season 6 champion. Jack Ashton trying to place his car in the middle of the road, being as defensive as possible, slowly comes over to the inside, giving Daniel Handover just enough room. We know how good the Porsches are on the brakes, but they can be quite unpredictable late on the brakes, Daniel Handover. So the Demon Tweaks Esports car getting up into P15, and Jack Ashton demoted once again. But Jack Ashton has also gained 11 positions from where he started, so he might have lost it, but I don't think he'll be for long.
He'll be coming back, and we know the heart and fighting spirit of Jack Ashton indeed. Ryan Parkins is now falling into the clutches, it seems, of Robin Deville and the Flemish Simsports BMW. And in a field of good-looking cars, this one is a stunner, one of my personal favorites, especially with that spec map working wonders for how that gold paint is displayed to us. He's really hounding down that 911. I wouldn't like to be the floor of these cars. really taking a beating through that chicane. Here's Martin van Rooijbeek, though. He's up into 12th place. You talked about the Porsche 911s moving up. He started in 18th, I think. No, I'm afraid not. He started in 16th, but still good being up into 12th now. And the Simpac Porsche, just like Moses, a divider of waters when it comes to taste. Some people love it, and others don't. I guess that's fine. In the end, you know which part of the camp I'm in, and I am also a part of the team in the end, so I am very much biased. Oh, as the BMW of Diego Haynes has a bit of a slidey moment there. And I don't know why it's showing as a white BMW for Diego, who is driving for Flemish Simsport. Mind you, I did a fresh install, so to say, of our entire paint pack, and still it seems that it's just acting up somehow. That's a little annoying, I think, and I apologize for that. And Cammy, indeed, it is Sam Bentham now taking over 5th place just a few laps ago. I think actually Ryan Parkins was up there as well last week here, and there has been a pass, and I'm afraid Marc-Antoine Thibault has actually had a bit of a moment here in his Ferrari, coming into the double right-hander. Oh, and he just loses the rear end, and he does really well to keep it just on the concrete stuff and to keep it out the wall, Jack.
Yeah, great job from Mark. Stamped on the brakes to make sure he got it slowed down. Continued on. We've had an incident for Paul Gosling. It says he went off track as well as Daniel Handover. Let's see what happened for the Quantum Racing driver sideways. A very similar incident, but this time he spins back onto the road, gets it off the racing line and continues on. But I think that is where we will see a lot of the incidents, much like at Mosport. A couple of weeks ago, we saw the Moss section, the double uphill off-camber right-hander. That's a mouthful. We saw lots of incidents there. I think the double right-hander downhill section here at Imola, once the tyres are starting to wear thin, that will be where the drivers will get caught out. And we're now still looking at Ryan Parkins, still in P6. So a great job by the Strasser Porsche Sport driver. Speaking of Porsche Sport, Hasse, what do they do for this series?
Well, they have been our partner all the way through, and they have made it possible, actually, to put it honestly, I think, to have this series and to have it broadcast for all of you. So, couldn't really do it without you. That's at Porsche Sport, a bunch of other sports sponsors as well. That's, of course, Dynamics, Abruzzi, and Strasse. There's also a Porsche affiliate. And a big thanks to all of those wonderful lads indeed, and ladies, ladettes, if you will. Robin DeVille still hounding down, although not getting past Ryan Parkins in that battle for 6th place. See these drivers going that little wide, but actually, to be honest, I don't have much experience driving Imola and iRacing necessarily. I'm not really aware of where the track limits are really cut in iRacing. I have experience on this track from Assetto Corsa, but that won't really tell you about iRacing track limits. And that is a thing that is like, sometimes they get it perfectly right. Sometimes you can really exploit some things on some tracks. And then there's Spa, you know, Spa, and the ease of which you pick up incident points there. Mr. David Fuller has had an incident here. Oh, and what a lovely picture of David there. A true dad, indeed, that is well caught, and he just decides to cut the chicane as well. He's gonna pick up a small time penalty for that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, not sure what happened there. It looked like he just went off the road. Maybe he looked down at his Delta or looked at another screen or something, but he just clearly wasn't looking where he's supposed to be. Last time we looked at Martin van Leeuwenhoek, he was down in P27, and now he is battling John Barnes in the Quantum Racing Ford for P17. Let's see what he can do here into the uphill left-hander, late on the brakes, up the inside. Another position gain for Martin van Leeuwenhoek. That's 8 gained from where he started on an incident for... Oh no, we're just looking back at this overtake. I think we had an incident for David Fuller, so the Quantum Racing 4 GT is really coming to strife in this race. Oh, that's a car backwards as well. I think that was Lee Deemer that just whizzed past sideways on the grass. Here it is. There we go, Lee Diemer, sideways, sideways, sideways. Does he get it slowed down in time? He does. Made sure he keeps it off the track for as long as possible. And I think, Hasse, we might have also had an incident for David Fuller, if we can have a look back at that just a few moments ago. So another incident for the Quantum Racing 4GT driver. And it's quite a weird one because we didn't really see what happened on the run-up to that. But he's managed to keep going again. So Hasse, only 20 minutes into the race and the incidents are coming in thick and fast.
Yeah, from a clean start to drivers now having to settle in to a rhythm that's tough to keep up with indeed. And I think it's paying the toll, or they're just feeling the heat maybe from the drivers coming up. Those top-end drivers starting from the pits. It's going to put an unusual amount of pressure on the drivers who are used to finding it out in the midfield. All of a sudden they have those top names, those really, really fast drivers who are hounding them down. And if you've ever tried that yourself in a race, it does not feel pleasant at all here, as Martin van Loosenhout is now catching up to Jack Ashton. And that's a very nice initiative from Cammy Sturge running.
That's Tom Methrel off the road.
Oh, Tom Methrel going off. I was just about to mention the dedicated team for drivers with disabilities that's going to be running in the Evo series tomorrow, but the race isn't really giving us the hang time at the moment here, as Tom Methrel, he parks that right across the track, and had there been a little more traffic around for him, I think he could have been a little more unlucky that he ended up being there, getting out of that situation relatively unscathed. Mario Yuri, by the way, has gotten past on Johnny Verhoef. He's up into second place, and Joop de Ligt ahead by 2 seconds. And then Niklas Last just losing a little bit of time as well. And look at this, Van Loosenhout now really putting on the pressure to the rear end of Jack Ashton's Ford GT, the reigning champ, against the 3-time champ that is Martin van Loosenhout. And Van Loosenhout has a big run of overspeed, and I think Jack Ashton is not going to have a chance to defend that one. And he's not even going to try to fight it, I think. But if he's going to be able to just slut into the rear end, but I say slutting in behind, look at the pace difference. Martin van Loosenhout flying along there. And he's well up the order. He's gained 11 positions from where he started so far, and I would not be surprised to find him well up the top 5 when this race ends. We're coming into the first half an hour of the race completed, a third of the way through, and the incidents we've had, Jack, I was just about to say, it's been relatively clean. We have seen a few spins here and there, but we've seen very few smash-ups, and that's nice. Everybody's still pretty much in with the running. And we have a battle here between Martin van Rooyen and the Simpac Porsche, who's up into 11th. He's got company from Marc-Antoine Thibault.
I think just going off the pace, Hasse, Martin van Rooyen is slowly starting to bridge that gap, although last lap was a slower lap for Martin. So quite an odd battle here. Martin is, in theory, going off the final lap, the slower driver, but let's see what happens when they cross the line this time by. Martin van Rooyen crosses the line now and sets a 1 minute 40.74. They've set identical lap times. That's how close they are. Literally to the 1,000th of a second, a 1 minute 40.740. So that just shows how close this battle is going to be. If we look a little bit further down the order, I think Daniel Handover just picked up a couple of positions because Lee Diemer has also got past. Neil Cooper, actually. Neil Cooper is battling nose to tail by the looks of it with Tom Methrel.
Yeah, and Lee Diemer's in there as well. Oh, and that is a close squeeze as Neil Cooper does get by for P19. And we're going to have a second look. Let's see if I can just slow it down at the right time here as they come into the chicane. Side by side, you see Lee Diemer's throwing his Porsche, or his Ford GT, I'm sorry, into the first corner. He tries to cut back on Neil Cooper. He's on the outside, but with the run though. But Neil Cooper puts that Porsche 911 well in the way. A bit of a slide, well caught there from Lee Diemer. And as we'll go back to Lee Diemer's in the wall.
Yeah, we went back live with him, and he's in the wall. Not sure what happened there. Let's have a look. Oh, he got sandwiched and a bit of a boot out there. Just as you said it, Hasse, we didn't see any real major knocks, and that's Lee Diemer almost bullied into the wall. I can't put my finger on who that was. Was that the leading pair of SRA cars? Actually, I don't think it is. And another slight mishap for Lee Diemer. So it's all unravelled for him. He lost one position in it all, and it's all gone downhill from there. It was actually both the Team 11 cars. I'm not 100% sure. Actually, it looked like it was one of the Team 11 cars. So Tom Methrel might have helped him into the wall, and he's trying to catch onto the tail end of Bram Van Putten, but that I don't think is a task worth attempting, because Bram Van Putten trying to work his way back up through the order and make amends for missing last week. Dries Moosty and Jack Ashton side by side on the run up to turn one. I think Dries just about held on to the position. I saw a quick swap on the timing screen. I think we've got cars side by side in the background. We do indeed. Bod Boland and Jordan McClone swapping positions again. You just saw it there going into turn one. Let's have another look at this, Hasse.
Indeed, McClone, Boland there on the outside. Manxman taking the wise route, I think. McClone, oh, that's a major slide for McClone, but he actually catches that, and I think McClone keeps the position, and in that case, that's very, very well done. It's a lively car indeed, the Porsche 911, but here we're back with Tom Methrel. That confused me a bit because I thought we were still looking at the cars behind, but look at that snake now forming. That's Seb Heberer in the SRW Esports BMW. I think up to the rear end of Bud Boland and Jordan McClone here. So a nice little three-way battle happening. And they're all bouncing across the curbs, trying to just maximize track width in those crucial positions here. The double right-hander has been a difficult place for the drivers. So we've seen a few drivers miss the Variante Alta as they drop down the hill. Also a very, very difficult braking zone here. You were mentioning the reputation, should I say, Imola has as a place easy to lock up the brakes on. And here, just as I ask a bit of a question for Jack, we see an overtake by Bud Boland. The Manxman goes ahead of Jordan McClone and gets it settled this time around. In downtown Copenhagen, we does have plenty of sirens here, and it's still warm enough, especially with the computer, the TV, another screen, and everything running, and all pretty close to my face. It does tend to get a little hot in here, so I do need my window open, and I usually count on the local alcoholics staying quiet and the police doing the same. So we've got the police. Let's see if we get local alcoholics later on. I think actually you out there will hear them more than me, because I don't get the processed and compressed sound of my microphone through. I just get my regular microphone monitor. So I have a slight, a strong feeling that you'll be hearing it quite a lot more than me. So please remind me if we got any drunkards. Jordan McClone still fighting it out. Enough talk about that. Let's get back to the racing. Oh, and Martin van Rømer here, very, very close. Marc-Antoine Thibault right on this rear, coming into the first chicane, I think it is. And what kind of defending was that from Van Rømer? He was very, very fast into that corner indeed. But Marc-Antoine Thibault is getting closer and closer, and this time around, I think the Bruzzi Ferrari has the inside line. Oh, that's well driven by the Dutchman. Is he gonna fall victim to the cutback? He's gonna try to shut the door on the outside. And he does so indeed. But it's gonna be another cutback attempt from the Fess, from Marc-Antoine Thibault, the Canadian. They're squitching, they're squirming, and they have Martin van Loosenhout for company as well now behind. This is getting very interesting indeed. And just as Thibault goes through, He just overcooks it a little bit. Jack, do you think there was contact there? Let's have another look at it.
There were two little pieces of contact. That's McGlone.
Oh, that's McGlone off into the... That was actually not exactly what I was hoping to see here. Martin van Loosenoord passing. You see Thibaut off there on the outside. I don't necessarily think there was contact. Seemed a bit more like it was just the edges of grip there. They're squitching, yeah, I think they're twitching and squirming at the same time for me. Sometimes things tend to go a little faster. Bram van Putten up into 18th place. Mind you, he was one of those drivers starting from the pit lanes as well. But not making up spaces at the same pace as teammate Martin van Loosenoord. And here's two Martins getting very close to one another. It's almost Martin squared as they pass underneath the start-finish line. There's going to be no contesting that from Van Rooijwijk to his compatriot Van Loosenoord. And that BMW is flying up the field. He's now in 11th place. He's done so well indeed here. Jack Ashton also up now into 14th. In front of Dries Moody, John Barnes, Danny Handover, and Bram van Putten. And then it's John Tusting, I think, and if I'm not mistaken, Neil Cooper rounding off the top 20. We haven't seen much of the lead trio at the moment, but actually, I think that's a little bit wrong indeed, because we've actually had a really good battle here at the head of affairs. And Mario Yuri, Johnny Verhoeven, still just about half a second from one another, and although we haven't seen a wild amount of overtakes up here, we've really still kept that battle close. And I think at the moment, Johnny Verhoeven is just trying to play it cool. He's trying to do what Martin van Loosenoord did to the Manatee cars 2 weeks ago. Just to sit there, chill for a bit at the start of the race, save the fuel necessary to be able to jump the opposition in the pits. Mind you, we will, I think, see the pit window being open for, well, a few minutes now here as we're crossing into the second 30 minutes, if you will, minutes 30 to 60, and as we are expecting 2 pit stops on this race, it's going to be interesting to see just when they happen. Here is Robin DeVille. He's chasing down Ryan Parkins, and Jack, it's been this way in this battle for a long time by now, hasn't it?
It really has been, and it looks like Robin DeVille is trying to catch up. He's doing everything that he can behind the wheel of that BMW M8 GTE just to close onto the tail end of Ryan Parkins. But there's something about Ryan this evening. He's got that extra little bit of pace, which is keeping him that nice distance in front. The leaders we were talking about, I was expecting to see a lead quartet instead of a lead trio. But Job de Ligt, Mario Yuri and Johnny Verhoeven on the podium positions at the moment, and Nicolas Lash just seems to be dropping by. And you mentioned that Johnny Verhoeven is trying to do something of the like to Mario Yuri as Martin van Loosenoord did, but I think Martin van Loosenoord may end up with that opportunity himself, because he's already got through 2/3 of the field. He started towards the very tail end of the order, and he's right the way up in P11 now. So Martin van Loosenoord gaining 14 positions only 30 minutes into the race. So if he continues on at the rate he will be very close, if not at the top end of the field, coming into the final few minutes of the race. But Robin DeVille still trying to pick up the position. Here's Mario Yuri once again under pressure from Johnny Verhoeven, but I think he's just that extra little bit too far back to get that position made at the moment. But at this point, you've got to think, is Johnny Verhoeven the one in control of this situation? Because if he keeps on pressurizing Mario Yuri as the race wears on, it will be Mario Yuri that drops away from Job de Ligt, his Manatee teammate, just in behind. We've got Jeremy Hessels diving into the pits very early on. So whether that is for the first of the 2 mandatory pit stops, I'm not sure. But I do think Johnny Verhoeven is the one controlling this situation. He keeps on putting on that pressure to Mario Yuri. He will only extend his teammate's lead margin.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. He's trying to play that team game, pressure Mario Yuri to not really have the energy or the space or the time to contend with Job de Ligt up ahead, who can run ahead as the rabbit. But worth noting that Martin van Loosenoord indeed has set a 38.8, and he set a 39.1 on his last lap. His best lap so far in this race, a 1:37.98. So it just goes to show of course, now up into 10th place with the pit stops here. The longer Van Loosnoord will be able to go in this opening stint, I believe it'll be to his advantage if he can pump in those fast lap times. But now he is that the car of Jordan McClone? I think that is the 727 machine of McClone. Was that a bit of issue here? We're seeing it getting the flashes from Martin Van Loosnoord, who I think will try to get out the way here. Braking early into the double left-hander. And onto the start-finish straight they go. And Van Loosnoord pits in with most of the field, basically, here. Niklas last. I think one of the only drivers taking an extra lap alongside Robin DeVille. So, here's Jack Ashton. He's also done an extra lap, I think, and then the running order as it was. For the rest of the field here, oh, that's Mario Yuri, who seemingly had a fast pit stop from what I can see at least here, and Johnny Verhoef haven't really been able to get the run on the Austrian driver. So the lead battle, or the virtual lead battle, if you will, expect pit stops from the front trio sooner rather than later. As I say that, Niklas last coming in here. Here's Robin DeVille, the gold driver, doing very, very well for himself. And at least his livery shows a gold driver. We've been wrong on that a card before, but I think we have fixed all those. Oh, here comes Jack Ashton. He's going to be pitting in as well. So last DeVille, Ashton pitting in. Or DeVille, Ashton, I don't know. DeVille pitting in here. So the crystal ball being correct for once. Yet again. And 35 minutes into the race. That, of course, begins to open a bit of options there in the final stint. It is actually quite a bit. If you can save 10 minutes, Jack, on that final stint, that's a lot of time in the pits that you can save yourself and gain on the opposition in the end.
It really is. I am sorry I went quiet for that. I have seen my SDK decided it was a great time to keep connecting and reconnecting, and it's continuing to do exactly the same at the moment. So I can't really see up-to-date live pictures. It keeps on connecting, disconnecting, and do exactly the same, Hasse. So you might have to continue on for a bit as I do a refresh of my live timing.
Well, that's amazing when just getting hit by technical difficulties when you need it the least. But that's how it is, I guess. Here is Robin DeVille. And for some reason it does seem like our...
live timing's down as well.
Yeah, live timing's down. As we see, the race timer has died. The graphics have died as well. That's a bit of an odd one out. I don't recall ever having tried this one before. Just going to try a little thingy here. Just a short moment. Just to see whether or not we'll fix it. Because you know, it just might. Control Alt Delete. I don't think so, but I am gonna try to see if I can restart our overlay software here. Let's see if we can just get it to run as we want it to.
I do think we still have the live timing is still connected to the session. So at the moment, everybody, we do have Job de Ligt still in the lead, if this is the correct timing. Mario Yuri still in P2 and Johnny Verhoef in P3. Liam Diemer has just dived into the pit, so that's Jack Ashton promoting himself up another couple of places. Bram van Putten up into P15. Let's have a look where Loosnord is after the pit stops. He is all the way up in P8 at the moment. Martin van der Ewijk closing up to the tail end of Marc-Antoine Thibault. I do think we have pictures back, ladies and gentlemen. I have just picked up a connection to the server.
Yeah, pictures are back. The overlay is back, and we have graphics back and working as well. So everything's back and running as it should be. We apologize for that a little bit of an interruption. There's a big moment for Martin van Rooijbeek. That was the Rossers indeed, Porsche Sport. And look at this here, oh my word, Job de Ligt, and more flashing going on here. Job de Ligt really under pressure here from Mario Yuri. And the Austrian really coming along well here. And Jack, you just tell me when pictures are fully back on your end, when everything's working again.
I've picked them up already. If we're looking at Ryan Parkins in P6 under pressure from Robin Deville, I think we are all back live again.
That is music, sweet music to my ears here. Martin van Rooijbeek now trying to return the favor on Marc-Antoine Thibault, who passed him in this very same place. The Canadian really putting everything into it here. So stay in front of the Dutchman. Done well so far. Here is Bram van Putten now. He's trying to get his way past Jack Ashton as well. Jack Ashton, who's been consistently 14th for some time being now, after gaining quite a bit of position earlier on. Here is Ewan Marshall for Team 11. Under pressure from Jeremy Hessels for Dynamics Racing. And that's the battle for 9th place, by the way. Martin van Loosnord, as we see here, Jack, coming out of the technical difficulties in 8th place. That's absolutely impressive indeed. And of course, that restart of everything in terms of positioning has thrown us off on one thing. And I think that is just how many positions some of the drivers might have gained. We might have lost track on that, so sorry we can't present you with those facts. By the way, here as we see at the moment, BMW 1, 2, 3, 4, then the Ford GT is Sam Bentham, Porsche, 2 more BMWs of Robin Deville and Martin van Loosnord, and then another Porsche there of Ewan Marshall in the top 10, with Jeremy Hessels rounding it off, and then Diego Hames, Marc-Antoine Thibault, Martin van Rooijbeek. And then it's Bram van Putten and Jack Ashton now in 15th place. And I'm going to have a quick throwback here to just see how Van Putten pulled off that one. Seemed to get it done well and clear of corner entry. And I was about to say Jack Ashton. He seems to be a man who knows when to fight and knows when to fold.
I think at that point he knew that Martin van Loosnord was coming through, whether he liked it or not. But now look at this, Marc-Antoine Thibault under pressure from Jeremy Hessels, I think that is, in the white BMW. I'm seeing that as well, Hasse, and he just about squeezes his way through. Or I say that, Marc-Antoine Thibault, the outside turns into the inside and continues on to remain in P11. But now look at this, Martin van der Ewijk getting in on the mix as well. So Diego Hames sort of compromised his line on the exit of the left-hander, which has compromised him in one of the most important places of the track, because we know how aggressive Martin van der Ewijk can be and get away with it going into the chicane. Continues on, and the Porsche using much more of that curve than we expect. A big moment again from Martin van der Ewijk, and I'm not sure whether it's just me, but the Team Simpac guys this evening decide that, well, they're going to go sideways.
And the question is whether they do it by choice or by need, because they just don't have any more grip in those tires. But that's one thing I have to say, actually. Since they brought the new tire model to the GTE cars, a lot of people, I'm not gonna get too deeply into this because this might upset the hearts and minds of a lot of sim racers out there. But one thing that's happened particularly to the Porsche 911 RSR is that the car has actually become catchable when it slides. It's become a much more enjoyable car to drive and a lot more fun indeed. Whether that's faster or not, that's a completely different discussion, but it's very entertaining indeed behind the wheel of one of those machines. Martin van Rijwijk, I have to say, he seems to be enjoying himself. I think maybe for the first time really this season, not because he's not enjoying the racing, but Jack, let's face it, the BOP, the official iRacing BOP, has been very tough on the Porsche 911 RSR so far this season, and I don't know if there's been a slight change in that. I'm not really sure if we got into a new season. I've had quite a bit of a break from racing myself, so I haven't really kept notice on that really. But it could also be the tracks that we've been visiting with Mosport, with Watkins Glen, and also here just seems to favor the Porsches a little more than some of those outright top speed tracks. I'm not really sure about it, but Martin van Rijwijk is really putting the pressure onto the rear end of Diego Hames. Of course, Diego Hames for Flemish Simsport, so why that car is white, I'm at a loss. As I said earlier in the transmission, tried to install all our paint packs, everything freshly to make sure that we'd see everything correctly. I think it worked out last week. This week, not so lucky indeed. I'll give it another go next week to see if we can have all the paints on point. We have live timing back. There is a link if anyone wants it in the chat. And Ryan Walker has been off track in his Porsche. Oh, that's not a Porsche 911. That's a Ferrari. Indeed, I was thinking about Ryan Parkins there. Oh, that's a little bit naughty there coming into the corner. But they're also both very late on it, and I don't think Ryan Walker in the end has lots of chance to really escape the incident there. So we're back with the battle here between Martin van Rijwijk. Oh, and van Rijwijk loses it, and he plows straight into the wall just as we return. The Dutchman, oh, and he flashes his lights in pure frustration, and just look, he cuts onto the grass there with his rear right, loses traction, and from there on he becomes a passenger. He tries to save it. When he realizes he can't, he slams on the brake, but there is nothing to do for Martin van Rijwijk here. Straight into the wall, and that's going to be costly repairs for him, and that 13th place is going to be long gone, I'm afraid.
It really will be. I was saying earlier, I think that's a bit of commentator's curse, albeit delayed. He's now right the way down in P21. I said he can get away with being aggressive, and then I said that he was enjoying going sideways, but sadly not. He's reached the limit, found it, and it's puts him in the wall. Bram van Putten all the way up in P13 now, chasing down his G-Drive teammate. Up into P8 now is Van Loosnord, and he is quite a way back compared to what I was expecting on Robin de Ville. So whether he took tyres earlier on, Hasse did mention that we've lost information, and one of those is the overall gains, the overall position gains, the in-class position gains, and how many times and how long they have pitted for. So sadly we won't be able to refer to the first pit stops, but as soon as we get the second pit stops and the second pit window opening in about 20 minutes time, we will be able to bring all that information to you. I'm not 100% sure what happened, but we do have a race going on still. Martin van Loosnord still in P8. Someone was dropping down the order there. I can't quite put my finger on who it was. I know we've got Dries Moosty and Daniel Handover within 0.3 of a second. This is Bod Boland. Let's see what happened to Bod, Hasse.
Oh, just losing the rear end, locking up all 4 tires and managing to turn around the car. Just using the gravel trap to slow him down there as well. He gets away cheaply from that incident there. Back with Van Loosnord, back in 8th place there. Ryan Parkins still running well, still in front of Robin de Ville. The 2 men with matching lap times at one point in this race. They seem to be closely matched indeed. Sam Bentham still sitting 5th, 5 seconds ahead of these two. And then we have Van Loosenhoort, who is coming up, and he's coming up quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Van Loosenhoort on the last lap, almost 2 seconds faster than the duo in front of him. So even with a little bit of a nudge that the front end of his BMW has taken at some point, running up through the field, he's still at a devilish pace here, Martin Van Loosenhoort, and he is catching up. So we're just above and beyond the halfway point of this race as well, with 42.5 minutes or so to go, 41.5 minutes in this now. And the lead battle, by the way, also still very close here. Joop de Ligt is though still leading, but 1.4 second ahead of these two, Mario Yuri, Johnny Verhoef.
Johnny Verhoef, though, like you mentioned, still in P3, and I did say a fair few minutes ago that he is in the piloting position here, trying to control Mario Yuri's pace, but it seems like Mario has just given up on looking in his rearview mirror. He's now flashing his lights, evidently showing that he's wanting to go forward and take the lead away from Joop de Ligt. Nicholas Last, they're only falling away from this battle. You can see him in the distance trying to fight his way through all the traffic that has now developed behind them, but this lead trio is... It's almost separating into a battle, or a two-way battle for second, which isn't exactly what we want to see. We want to see a couple of teammates and an SRA car battling for the lead going into the closing stages of the race. And my God, it's gone very, very quick, Hasse, because we're already 50 minutes into this race. I don't know where the time's gone. I guess we've just been busy with battles and incidents. This is another incident for Dries Moujdi. Let's see what happened. Oh, a massive jump over the chicane and straight into the wall. Thankfully, it's a tyre barrier, so I think he's got away with it with minimal damage. But you said earlier you wouldn't like to be the floor. I don't think I'd like to be the car at this point, the amount of damage that might have done. Let's have another look back, Hasse.
Yeah, just a second look at that flyer. Look, that's almost worthy of a 1970s cop chase movie. Speaking of the Rossers, quite a bit here tonight. I find an impressive jump, stylistically nice, but he also does pay a big price indeed here. So let's see if we can get back to the battle here with Bram van Putten. And he got past Marc-Antoine Thibault not too long ago, which means he's now nearing the top 10 as well. So the G-Drive BMWs are coming to the fore yet again as expected. They have been so strong on pace for the entirety of the first half of this season. And they've been flying along. Van Loosenhoort, is now 8th, and Van Putten 11th. He's now chasing down Ewell Marshall. And he's 20 seconds off of Van Loosenhoort, by the way, who's caught up 2 seconds to Rabin de Ville. And Ryan Parkins, they're getting closer to one another as well here. That gap has existed for so long, and now Ryan Parkins is going to have his hands full. And it might be a bit of... he's got a screen as a rear view mirror, not a proper mirror, but I think that gold on the BMW could shine so hard that it might blind Ryan Parkins up ahead. And that caused a little bit of a distraction indeed. We're coming into the very sharp left-hander, then heading up the hill. A double right-hander, and then up towards the Variante Alta.
You've got to think, though, at this point in the race, Hasse, if Ryan Parkins is keeping an eye on his Delta, as well as Rabin de Ville, he will see that Martin van Loosenhoort is only getting closer and closer and closer. He lapped 1 full second quicker than Ryan Parkins on the lap prior. There he is. You see the pair in front of van Loosenhoort jumping through the chicane. Martin van Loosenhoort doing something of the like and continuing on. Still in P8 at the moment, but he's looking to work his way up into P6, which would be a shame for Ryan Parkins because he's done an absolutely brilliant job so far today behind the wheel of that Porsche Verstrasse Porsche Sport. Been speaking to Ryan throughout the day as I've just upgraded my wheel, and he is much more familiar with the Fanatec wheelbases than I am, so massive thank you to Ryan for keeping or just for keeping me in the loop and letting me know what to do with my new wheelbase. But we do have a race going on. Jack Ashton in 14th, putting the pressure on Diego Hames, who is also trying to chase down Marc-Antoine Thibault for a Abruzzi Esports. Jack Ashton on the brakes again. One of the hardest braking zones, I'm going to keep on reiterating it, it's downhill, so you've got to brake early, and if you hit a curve, that's straight into lock-up territory and then straight into the grass and the gravel. But Diego Hames just about fending off Jack Ashton at the moment, but the BMW punching a nice big hole in the air for Jack Ashton, so the low and slick 4GT catching up very early on. We've had an incident for Ewan Marshall. Tell us what you see, Hasse.
Oh, just touching the curb there too hard on the inside. Just getting off. He's come back, actually, and I don't think he was the one to have a big one. We've had another one as well for John Tusting, and that's at the very same place on the track, and he just slightly overcooks it. And in the end, those two off tracks, undramatic and quite alike in the end. Oh, and Mario Yuri! So that seems to be a little more of an important one here as he loses the rear end from second place. And for Hove on the outside, we're going to have another look from the perspective there, I think, of Johnny Verhoeven, because just have a look. He sneaks around on the outside, well aware that that's where he wants to go, that's where he has to go as well. And now it's Manatee 1-2. Mario Yuri seemingly keeping third place, but just pushing it a bit too far there. And it's now third and fourth for Sim Racing Academy. Niklas Last has been comfortably fourth for the entirety of the race here. Sam Bentham is 11 seconds down, and those cars behind is lap traffic by now. But a big moment there for, Niklas Last actually losing a bit of pace here as well. I don't know what's happening for the Sim Racing Academy cars. Certainly not a good couple of seconds for them here. Robin DeVille. Well, he's close, but he's not really close enough. What you can say now, last time we had a look at Van Losenoord, it was 3.5 seconds. It's now down to 1.37, about 1.4 seconds up to the two cars ahead. And as you mentioned earlier, Jack, they'll be sweating more and more as they see the white and orange shade just get bigger in those mirrors. And Martin van Losenoord is looking to gain further places. So we're closing in on the 1 hour mark here, which also means that in not too long we'll be seeing the second round of pit stops coming along here. Still Jack Ashton on the tail of Diego Hames. And they've got Marc-Antoine Thibault right in front of them for Abruzzi Esports.
It looks like, though, sorry to come across you, Hasse, this battle isn't going away anytime soon. But while this battle's going on, the battle up the road is getting closer and closer and closer, because Martin van Losenoord now within 0.6 of a second of Robin DeVille, who is still within 0.6 of a second of Ryan Parkins. Robin DeVille massively under pressure from Martin van Losenoord at this point. Hasse will have to try and get up and look at them pretty sharpish, because I think Robin DeVille made a mistake, because the gap to Ryan Parkins has really diminished now. Martin van Losenoord up ahead of Robin DeVille. So there's Ryan Parkins. Let's look at Martin van Losenoord now, who has got past Robin DeVille. I thought Robin might have made a mistake behind the wheel of his Flemish Simsports BMW. So he has been demoted down into P8, and Martin van Losenoord hot on the heels of the Strasser Porsche Sport driver Ryan Parkins in the 225. Look at this now. Martin van Losenoord looking incredibly balanced and quicker than ever. Up into P7, continuing on. Let's have a look. This is Matthias Temme for the Fury Simsport team. Oh, that's going to be a bit dangerous, mate. I wouldn't reverse over the track like that. There you go. Plants his foot to the floor, gets it out of the way. Great driving from Matthias, being patient before he rejoins again. But look how close these two have got. We only looked away for a couple of seconds, but Martin van Losenoord very much on the tail end. Well, I think Ryan Parkins thinks it's the World Rally Championships. It's throwing it over the curbs at the chicane. Let's see what Martin van Losenoord can do now into the downhill left-hander. Has he got the confidence on the brakes? He looks to the inside, looks to the outside, decides he's just going to sit back for this double left-hander. Going on to the start-finish straight, takes the wider line in, tries to carry the momentum. I think the position change is going to happen this lap.
I'd be very surprised if it doesn't happen coming into the first chicane here, because it's a very good run here for Van Loosnoord in the slipstream. It's a long straight as well. Here he comes with the overspeed. He's got the overlap as well. It's going to be the inside line into the opening chicane, and there's going to be no fighting that at this time for Ryan Parkins, and I think wisely so. He wants to make sure he stays ahead of Robin DeVille at the time being. And you know what? Martin van Loosnoord could just about help him run away with it as well. So Van Loosnoord up into 6th place. He'll be chasing down Sam Bentham now for 5th. It's still De Ligt, Verhoef, Yuri in last. 1st through 4th. BMW on all 4 positions. Oh, and we've had an incident, Jack, from Seb Heberer.
Yeah, so we're not seeing much from Seb so far this race, using too much of the curb. I think he was sideways going into it, and then the curb just accelerated him towards the wall. Clips the wall once again, trying to get it pointed in the right direction, but not what Seb was looking for. We've got Diego Hames in the pits from P17. He's on pit exit now, so whether that is the last of his pit stops made, I'm not sure. There he is, behind the wheel of his Flemish Simsports BMW. Number 113 leaving the pits now. It's a very, very long pit lane here at Imola. It doesn't look it on first glance, but it really is. We've got cars side by side passing the pit lane now. I think that was one of the Flemish Simsport cars. I'm not 100% sure who it was, but Jack Ashton now trying to pick up a position on Marc-Antoine Thibault, and I've got a feeling we're missing a car from this battle. Oh, that'd be why, because Diego Hames, the car we were just looking at, has pitted in, so he has got himself away and out of this battle. Whether that is just to save time to see what he can do instead of battling and using up his fuel and tyres, pit nice and early and see what he can do towards the end of the race. Ryan Parkins, although he has lost a position to Martin van Loosnoord, he seems to have gapped Robin DeVille just to a nice amount. The margin at the moment is 9/10 of a second. We've got Bram van Putten in the pits as well, so he's going in from 11th position. It's all happening now, Hasse. I think we've just entered the start of pit window number 2.
Yeah, and a couple of drivers choosing to come in early. They might have been in a bit of traffic. I think Bram van Putten might want to... Yep, as you see, that front bumper just got straightened out immediately. He wanted to take that quick repair on this final pit stop of his to get that car just on point for his final stint. Here's Marc-Antoine Thibault getting twitchy there. And Jack Ashton, I think, is really beginning to close in here in this battle for... that's 11th place indeed. So Jack Ashton climbing, although slowly, he is really climbing throughout the field now. And he's really... Oh, was that a bit of a slide? Or did it just the sound of tires I thought I heard coming through the very tight left-hander indeed. And also now, Jack, worth noting, I think for the first time in this race, the field has spread out at the head of affairs there of 141.1 for Mario Yuri on the last lap. So he might have had a little bit of a bad one indeed here. Diego Hames getting past John Tusting in the most simple of manners. And that's the look of a car. Just to show you again, you kind of signal to someone, hey, I'm not gonna mess around with you for this one. This is exactly what John Tusting is doing in this situation. I think just trying to run his own race. He hasn't pitted yet for the second time. He's yet to do so. So, oh, look at this. Jack Ashton basically glued to the rear end of Marc-Antoine Thibault here in the Ferrari. And does he have enough of a run here in the Ford GT? I think he's gonna try to have a look up the inside. Gets a slight squeeze from Thibault. But the question is, if it is a done deal. I think so here for Jack Ashton up into 11th place. Although there is gonna be the chance of a cutback here from the Canadian. We've seen it before with Marc-Antoine Thibault. Looking for those moves left, right, and center and trying to line it up when the driver in front is forced on the defensive. But a nice move there indeed from Jack Ashton. Just another look at it here. We're gonna go on board with the Ford GT. Not a lot of room there on the inside. But coming into the corner, he's already ahead. And that's, I guess, is as comfortable as they get here in a series as tightly contested as this. And on a track as tight as this as well. Jordan McClone is on the tail end of David Fuller. He's looking to the outside here in 24th place. Oh, he's close by now. He's looking... Oh, he's trying to find a way through. David Fuller really making his Ford GT as wide as possible. Here comes the send perhaps from McClone. And Fuller going the wide line about. And I think they're going to be side by side on the run up to the next corner here. It's Sepp Heber up ahead in the BMW. Let's see here. Cresting the hill. And Jordan McClone goes ahead up into 23rd place. Oh, and there's the contact. There's contact and around they go. And Jack, just let's have another look at exactly what happened here.
I think Jordan McClone just got ahead going into the corner, and then David Fuller got a little too close for comfort, trying to follow him through, just clipped the tail end of Jordan. And I think Jordan got away with it better off because David Fuller is still in the wall, I think. We're still sat on the replay. I can see something running through behind the replay, but we are stuck on the replay at the moment. There we go. So Jordan McClone continuing on with a slight bend in the rear wing. But looking at it, where is David Fuller? David Fuller, I can't even see him on the timing screen anymore. He's dropped back all the way down in P28, so he has really lost a lot of time from that. And he's in a world of his own. 5 seconds ahead is Bart Daleman. Jordan McClone's dived into the pits to pick up the repairs, and Ryan Walker is, I nearly said, I think that's a mix of Ryan Parkins and Ryan Walker. But the Nomad Sim Racing Ferrari, 1 minute and 10 behind David Fuller. So that small incident has cost him massively. Let's see whether he dives into the pits for the final of his pit stops. He does as well. So he'll pick up any the repairs that he needs, if any, and the final splash and dash to get to the end of the race. But it's really started to calm down at the moment. The closest cars on circuit were the ones I was literally just about to talk about as Hasse clicked on them. Dries Mujdi and Matthias Temmet, 5/10 apart. I say that, but Neil Cooper and Martin van der Eywick have just swapped. Neil Cooper and Bram van Putten have just swapped positions. So I think around the outside. That's very, very brave there. I'm not 100% sure what happened. If we could have another look back at the overtake, it'd be brilliant, Hasse. Tell us what you see.
Well, they're coming up side by side, and it's into the Variante Alta, and he just squeezes in there, takes a lot of curb there from Putten, he does, and just powers on through. That's a brave move, but he gets it done perfectly indeed. And that's just how he wanted. And I think on the tail of the car, though, here in 16th place, it is indeed. It's not even Joop de Ligt, it's the teammate of Joop de Ligt. It's Johnny Verhoef. And the two Manatee cars, for the first time in this race, really being free of the Sim Racing Academy followers, if you will, because they have been close on the tail for almost the entirety of the race. Mario Yuri with his spin, and that seemed to set him off the pace just that little bit. Could have cooked his tires, could have done a lot of stuff to make him lose that little bit of pace. And of course, that incident we saw before with Jordan McClone and the Ford GT, of course, all aware that, of course, these incidents are non-intentional. And it takes a brilliant actor, and I think it takes something worthy of an Academy Award or something like this. Maybe a forgot what they call them in the United Kingdom, but what is it, Jack?
What was that? I sort of zoned out. I was sat there watching
the British version of the Academy Awards. The
Grammy? I don't know. I don't really watch them because it's just people getting awards, and I'm jealous because I can't get any. So I go and find some motorsport to watch, and we are seeing Ryan Parkins still in P7 for Simracersworld, but he doesn't have his teammate out tonight. I've just noticed we don't have Carl Nowhere's Sharky, as I've been told to call him. We normally call him Caravan Carl. Going off the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series, he was very much on the tail of everybody, pretty much like a caravan. But Ryan Parkins, lone soldier for Simracersworld. I'm telling a lie. We've got John Tusting out this evening. We've got John Tusting right the way down in P20. I think it's because for some reason John Tusting was popping up in a Quantum livery. So we are having a few issues with the paint pack. We will get those sorted for you. But as always, a massive, massive thank you to Porsche Sport for sponsoring the series, and Ryan Parkins showing them off beautifully this evening behind the wheel of his Porsche, sliding his way through the final corner in beautiful fashion, diving into the pits. And this is where everybody has had to come into the pits because they can't make it on fuel. Job de Ligt, Johnny Verhoef, Mario Jori, Martin van Loosnord is coming for his final pit stop. Ryan Parkins, Robin DeVille, Martin van den Ewyck, John Tusting and Seb Herber are all in the pits. A busy old pit lane here at Imola. So Nicholas Last inherits the lead for the moment. Sam Bentham in P2, but once everything's said and done, it'll be Job de Ligt, Johnny Verhoef, and I think Mario Jori will just about hang on to P3. We'll only really know in about 2.5 minutes time once everybody has been in and completed one full racing lap. We've now got Martin van Loosnord leaving the pits behind Mario Jori, so I think Martin van Loosnord will be in P4 possibly. Looking at it, Ryan Parkins revving the hell out of his Porsche, trying to get away as quickly as he can, building that gap up to Robin DeVille in the pit lane if possible. But at the moment, it looks like Job de Ligt and Johnny Verhoef still controlling this race. Jack Ashton has worked his way up into P5, but I think he's still got a pit stop to make as well. So it's all about strategy going into the final 20 minutes, Hasse.
Yeah, it is. It is strategy. And once the strategy is played out, it's going to be about pace for the final run to the line. And that's just how we like it in the booth. And indeed, the Brits and the BAFTAs both would have been fine, I guess, but you get exactly what I'm talking about. Anyways, let's move on from another one of my many sidesteps in commentary. Ewan Marshall is here for Team 11. Want another apology for Team 11 that their livery isn't showing here in a Meraki car, but he is racing for Team 11. There's Bram van Putten ahead here. And now in 11th place, but still with a couple of drivers. And I think Van Putten has had 2 pit stops. So Jeremy Hassel has just had 1. So is Robin DeVille, Ryan Parkins. And I think that...
It does say 1 pit stop, Hasse, but we've got to remember we did have that reset. So anybody that it says has had 1 pit stop has actually had 2. Anybody that says 0 have only had 1. So it's quite confusing. But, and if you are watching on the live timing, that is why people will manage to finish the race on just the 1 pit stop.
But I think it's a little confusing as well, because it does say Bram van Putten has had 2 pit stops, and then the cars right ahead of him, according to the graphics, has had 1. But of course, that is very much true, Jack. You're completely right on that one, that we can't really use those stats for anything anymore. I just take it that, you know, it's something that we get used to having these sorts of information available to us, and when we all of a sudden don't have it anymore, it's just a little confusing. Here's Daniel Handover, and I'm not going to make the same joke on his name twice in a race. He is closing in on the rear end. He's going to be asking nicely this time for Marc-Antoine Thibault. Let's see if Thibault can find any kind of answer. Had a really good pace about his car early in the race, but it seems just to have faltered a little bit. It might be the tire wear kicking in for the Ferrari, because we saw good pace from the Canadian earlier on, and it's, yeah, as I said, it just seems like it's fallen off ever so slightly. He's there in 14th place at the moment, Marc-Antoine Thibault. Well, of course, he did gain 2 positions from a starting place of 6. Oh, that's another one that's absolutely not true. Don't mind me. As we have Jack laughing about it in the background. Thank you, Jack. Of course, Jack in his full right to be laughing about it in the background. But still, you should be supporting me, young man. We've got Ryan Parkins, and he's still holding on to this one, by the way. He's looking very strong indeed. And he's got Robin DeVille now closing in. Oh, he's going for a big flyer there across the chicane. We're into the final 20 minutes of racing. We have the last couple of drivers, I think, exiting and entering the pits as well. Here's Nicholas Last coming out in 4th place. So ahead of Van Loosnord. Van Loosnord 45 seconds. No, that's completely not true. He's actually much closer. Look at that. Jack, the gap to Van Loosnord for Nicholas Last is now under 7 seconds, or just about. So Van Loosnord now up into 5th place here. And this is not virtually staying. This is for real on the road. 18 minutes left. He's got 18 minutes to claw back. Oh, I think Nicholas Last might have had a bit of a sufferous exit from the pits, as he's been off the track here. And he comes in too hot. Oh, and the car picks up a bit of damage there. That's very evident for everyone to see. Just how much is that going to cost Nicholas Last?
I think that has cost him a very sizable amount, because he is now 3 seconds away, is Martin van Loosnord. He picked up 3 seconds alone in the pit stop, and now Nicholas Last well and truly under pressure, and he'll be feeling it now, because that damage is only going to stick with him for the final, 15 minutes, a little bit more left of the race. And Martin van Loosnord hot on the heels at the moment. It doesn't look like that big of a gap. Yeah, 3 seconds. He's got to get past the lapped traffic of John Tusting. But as soon as he's worked his way through, I think he will be able to continue on and pick up another position. And we've got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, Martin van Loosnord started in the pit lane. So everybody had disappeared and continued on through the first couple of corners of the circuit. Then everybody was released from the pit lane. So who was it in the end? I can't remember, because I think I've thrown my notes away. No, there we go. I do have it. So Martin van Loosnord, Bram van Putten, Bart Dale and Pim Bauer and Matthias Temmet all started from the pit lane. Martin van Loosnord in P5, Bram van Putten in P9 from the pit lane, and Bart Daleman, I can't find him immediately on the timing screen, but a lot of the G-Drive cars slowly starting to work their way up the order. And what did we expect? Nothing less, because they're G-Drive. They've done a brilliant job dominating the season so far, and even with Bram van Putten not being in attendance at Mosport, he's put in an absolutely solid stint here this evening, and he's all the way up into P9.
Yeah, it's very impressive to see that the guys from G-Drive are actually able to really take on the entirety of the field, basically, as Van Loosnord now within the top 5. A very good drive indeed. They have been at the top of the standings for, well, at least on the podium, for I think every single occasion. So I think it would be the first time we don't have a G-Drive car on the podium, if it so happens tonight. And that doesn't mean that the performance hasn't been good. To me, this might have been the best performance of Martin van Loosnord so far this season, just because he's basically had to overtake every single one of the rest of the field here. He's done so brilliantly indeed. He's now catching up to Nicholas Last. The gap is 2.3 seconds as we're nearing the final 15 minutes of the SRW GT Pro Series, brought to you by Porsche Sport. The 5th round, the midway point of the season here from Imola, into the final 15 minutes, and this is where it's all gonna get spicy. It's all gonna get hot. We might get sweaty in the booth, because excitement levels are hopefully gonna be rising here in the final bit of the race. Let's just have a look at it here. Up ahead, Joop de Ligt leading Johnny Verhoeven by 3.5 seconds, but the gap down to Mario Uri in 3rd place now is, from the leading car, that is 22 seconds. Then 24 to Nicholas Last, and 26 to Martin van Loosnord. So Martin van Loosnord, no way is he out of sight of a podium finish, even though he started from the pit with a major time disadvantage on the entirety of the pack, basically. Of course, he did have a clean track to himself. He did have a space to run quick laps early on, but the talent of this driver is immense. And he's shown it yet again here tonight. And just going to be keeping an eye on his exploits for the rest of this race, because I think it's going to be very interesting indeed. I think... Oh, what happened to Mario Uri? He's been off track here. So that's a very good question, actually, to ask in chat. When I have a look down here, oh, look at Uri. He takes a spin. He's into the gravel. And it's not going to cost him a position, I think... But he is ahead still of Nicholas Last, but his teammate is right there, and that was why I mentioned they were so close to one another. Cammy, I'm happy to say I'm without the burning itching today. And that's a good thing. That's a good
You got that in at the end. Cammy was asking earlier, do we have thoughts of driver of the day yet? And obviously, it's got to be Martin van Loosnord for just what an incredible drive it's been, starting from P27. I'm sure he's got a burning itching sensation just from how well he's been doing, from P27 all the way up into P5 from the pit lane. And then I've got to say, I've got to put Ryan Parkins there. The odds have been against him. Everybody has been going on about the BOP and how it's really hampered the Porsche's performance, but what a brilliant drive it has been from Ryan. He's started in P5, still in P7. He's defended from everybody he can. He's had Martin van Loosnord work his way through, so I think that's at least one of the positions claim. But Ryan Parkin's still on for a good result here. We're now looking at Daniel Handover putting the pressure on the Canadian of Marc-Antoine Thibault.
Yes, Porsche Sport asked me to say no more. I was just about to keep my mouth shut there for a moment. But who am I kidding? Has anyone made up more places than Jack Ashton, asks Cammy. I'm actually not sure, and as we are without that data, I can't even tell. Let's just have a look at Van Loosnord. Look at this now, Van Loosnord on the tail of Niklas Last. And the German in front is gonna be, he's not gonna be happy about this. With 12 minutes of racing still to do, and him having taken a big trip over one of these huge sausage curbs, I'm sure that car's picked up some kind of damage. Doesn't really look right to me anymore. And yeah.
Oh, so I've just had a look at chat. John Tusting is racing for Quantum Racing, but Austin Lee is driving for Porsche Sport and his wheel disconnected. That's very similar to what happened to Austin Greaterex. I heard off Luke Holroyd, Mr. Porsche Sport, that he's had wheel connection issues as well. But look at this. We've got Bram Van Putten in P19 out of the race. So I think Bram Van Putten has disconnected. He was on for a brilliant result. And after missing out at Mosport, losing out on lots and lots of valuable points this late on in the season. Look at this. Martin Van Loosnord up the inside of Nicholas Last. I think he's just about got the position made. They're still side by side as they go over the crest now, going into the very hard braking zone, turning left, and that is the position confirmed for Martin Van Loosnord, and all he has now is a 4-second gap to a potential podium.
Yeah, here it is again, just squeezing up the inside of the tight left-hander and managing still to get a good run on the Sim Racing Academy car. Oh, receive through and put. Oh, I'm sorry, Anton, but that's poor. But it's alright. Van Loosnord, they're up into 4th place. We called it. Now got 4 seconds to make up onto Mario Yuri, as you said. Oh, look at this. Yuri's being held up at the moment. He's not gonna like the look at this. He's gonna ask the Quantum car, please get out of the way. And it hardly even seems like he's able to overtake it. Has he had some kind of there he gets past in the end. But I'll be following the gap between Yuri and Van Loosnord with quite a bit of interest here. Doesn't seem to me that the car really has taken any sort of damage, but of course it could be something that we can't see. Here's Thibault. Oh, and guess who's passed here? Daniel Handover. He got it done. He got it made. And let's have another look at that overtake here. Coming into the first chicane. This time around, he gets the run. He gets the inside line on Marc-Antoine Thibault, and the Canadian says, all right, you can have it. I'll hand it over to you. This once, just this once. And I'm not going to mention that one again tonight. I'm sorry here. We have Bud Boland, the Manxman, who's actually racing for Meraki Racing in the 26 car. He is not too far off the rear end of Pim Bao in 15th place at the moment. And he's getting followed by Martin van Rooijek, who's in 17th, but by 25 seconds arrears, so quite the gap indeed here. Now Daniel Handover is chasing down Diego Haynes in front, and I think he's still going to have a bit of stuff to see to, with Marc-Antoine Thibault close to his rear end.
We've got Porsche Sport in chat saying that Demon Tweaks livery is heart eyes, and I can't agree with you more. Demon Tweaks have always made beautiful liveries, and I'm just going to ask for your opinion on this, Luke. What did you think of the Demon Tweaks Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini in British GT? I'm going to leave that with you and see what pops up in chat in a few moments' time. But yeah, like you say, I said Daniel Handover picking up the position and pulling away from Marc-Antoine Thibault. Now look at this, Martin Van Loosnord within 3.5 seconds. He's managed to shake off the attentions of the first Sim Racing Academy car of Nicholas Last. He's now 1.5 seconds in front of Nicholas, but 3.5 seconds is the gap up to Mario Yuri, and with only 7.5 minutes of the race still to go, there is the gap. I don't think unless some major traffic plays a part or a mistake. I hear an incident in the background. I think that's Nicholas Last and John Barnes that have come together. Let's have a look at it, Hasse.
We're gonna have an immediate look here. Nicholas Last goes to the inside. He slides about and just picks off John Barnes. It was a little less dramatic than we might have thought there immediately, but there was no fault of John Barnes, who's just a passenger. I think that was down to the damage that Nicholas Last's car picked up at that earlier incident, because it didn't look like he was really pressing it that hard into the corner. And let's see if it's going to be possible for Van Loosenoord to pick up these 3 seconds in 8 minutes of racing. But yeah, poor luck there for Nicholas Last, and he's lost the position as well. Yet again, and this is, by the way, not the first time we've seen Nicholas Last being more than unlucky this season. Because when you look at his point tally, it's really not that far up the order, and especially not concerning how far up the order he's been running at practically every race of this season. But all the way through, bad luck seems to have followed the German. And yet again here tonight, he's down into 6th place now after a solid drive until... Oh, and I'm afraid, Jack, we have had an incident for Bart Daleman.
So let's see what happened to Bart here. Oh, he's just outbraked himself into the Villeneuve right-hander and in the wall as well. As soon as it hit the gravel, it just locked up and continued on. That's a one-way train straight into the gravel. So Bart Daleman coming to strife late on in the race. And this is Nicholas Last losing even more positions now. Look at this. This is Dries Mujdi hot on the heels of Martin van Loosenoord, trying to pick up an extra little bit of pace going into the closing stages of the race. So Martin van Loosenoord still in P4. The gap now almost down to about 3 seconds. There we go, just about ticking to 3 seconds now. But that gap has got to get smaller, and we're just about to tick into the final 5 minutes of the race. Hasse, what do you think is going to happen? What's the verdict?
Well, looking at what's happening right here with 2 Porsche 911s, what I think is battling for position, that's the Fury car of Neil Cooper and Jordan McClone, if I'm completely not mistaken. Oh, and they're not really letting Last through, at least not yet, and there's really getting held up through that corner. That is not what Nicholas Last needs. And the only thing that can really save him is that Martin van Loosenoord gets held up in the same amount of way there, because that was very close indeed. And not sure he's going to be too happy with that being under quite a bit of pressure here. The gap's now down to underneath 2 seconds. So that's really cost him time that he does not have on his hand in the end. And Martin van Loosenoord is now really able to eye out his target out in front of him. He's able to just going to be focusing, and he's just going to be trying to squeeze every single drop, every single bit of juice out the engine, every single grain of rubber transferring into the tarmac for optimum grip, optimum drive. He really wants that position. He's really going for it. And it is a silly place to have to make that pass, but he doesn't really have much choice in the end. Now that gap, 1.5 seconds though, still with a car in between him, and that Simpact Porsche still has yet to be passed. I think Mario Yuri might have lost a little bit of rhythm in that situation. Of course, it's always difficult passing these lap cars, because being completely in the same class, it's not like there's really a big kind of pace difference as you'd usually have being if it was multi-class racing. Here, though, it seems the Simpact Porsche makes way into the Variante Alta. A good bit of a one-sided flyer there for Mario Yuri. The gap's still 1.5 seconds, and there's still a car to pass for Martin van Loosenoord. We're into the final, 3.5 minutes of this race. So it's really, really, really heating up here. And whether Martin van Loosenoord is actually going to make this one, I think it's really still hard to call. Because if he gets past this Porsche just on this start-finish straight, and I think he will, it's still all within touching distance, I think, Jack.
I do think he will be begging for every piece of traffic to get out of the way. There we go. The Simpact car diving to the outside, losing as little time as possible to let Martin van Loosenoord through. But I think at this point in the race, I've got to agree with you. 1.5 seconds, still a gap between the pair of them, dropping it down to now 1 second and about 3/10. Martin van Loosnord has set a purple sector 1. That shows just how much he is pushing to get this podium. But Mario Uri, the only thing I'm guessing he's begging for is traffic, because the key part of getting through that traffic, as long as he can get through and build that gap and get a car in between himself and Martin van Loosnord, I think that is his last dying wish at this point. But Martin van Loosnord, I think we've just got to remember, he started from the pits in P27. So he didn't just start in P27, he started with quite a large time deficit. So it makes you think, if he started just at the back of the grid, would he be at the very pointy end of the field? But Martin van Loosnord, P4 at the moment. The gap is now within a second, Hasse. So DRS is now enabled for Martin van Loosnord. And he is pushing nice and hard to try and get onto the tail end of Mario Uri.
Sorry, Jack, for cutting you off, but that was 4 wheels almost, I think, cleanly off the grass. If not, if it was very close indeed. And he's really pushing it. His sector 1 was indeed purple. And let's see if the lap is going to be up there as well. It's very, very tough to put in a purple lap on a set of tires that's been running for an hour and a half. It's absolutely insane. We're going to have a lap more, I believe, for these two. Very not much. I'm not mistaken. Let's see. The leaders have 24 seconds on Van Loosnord here. DRS would indeed explain the BMW pace Porsche Sport. But now here... No, I'm sorry, Jack. 2 more laps is your call, Jack. I think we're going to go with that one, because usually you're right when you call something. Oh, Joop de Ligt! Joop de Ligt has been off! I think it's been a short excursion. I'm having an idea that it hasn't really been too dramatic, and that's luckily for Joop de Ligt at this point of the race. That's right, the driver in the lead with a little bit of an off track there. Of course, we had to see what kind of excursion exactly that was. Now look at this, Martin van Loosnord, very much on the tail of Mario Uri, the Austrian racing for Sim Racing Academy, holding on to 3rd place, but with a car that seems to be just a little bit off the pace compared to Martin van Loosnord. But of course, it's not all about the car, it's much more so about the driver. And as I mentioned earlier, we're riding on board with one of the very best in the business, Martin van Loosnord.
Purple sector 4 from Loosnord this time by. Going into the penultimate couple of corners, I think we go on to the final lap now. We do indeed. So Joop de Ligt and Johnny Verhoef have crossed the line. Let's go on to the final lap. Look at this now. Martin van Loosnord tucked under the rear wing of the number 252 of Mario Uri. Looking back now, he goes defensive, goes to the inside. Martin van Loosnord just about got his nose alongside. There we go. He's got the overdrive on the outside, but the G-Drive Racing Eximi machine is going to get squeezed to the very outside of the track. He's going to have to be late on the brakes to get the position made around the outside. Continues on. The position remains with Mario Uri, but Martin van Loosnord very, very close now. All he has to do is last half a lap, a little bit more now. But Mario Uri still leading Martin van Loosnord, and although I know it's a general rule of thumb to look at the leader as they cross the line, I can't bear to look away from this battle. Martin van Loosnord diving to the outside, seeing whether he can make it work. The outside for this corner will be the inside for the right kink at the top of the hill, but tucks back in to the draft behind that Sim Racing Academy car. I think the leader is coming to the line very shortly, but Martin van Loosnord late on the brakes again, trying to close up this gap. And Mario Uri runs slightly wide now. There's Joop de Ligt, so we've got a few more seconds still of this battle. Hasse, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, indeed. And I was just thinking, Jack, if these two are not careful, we might just see this end in complete heartbreak in the end, which I hope not, because it's been a brilliant battle. And just looking at Mario, you're defending for all it's worth here into the Variante Alta, and out of it as well. He gets a good drive here that might save his life, because Martin van Loosnord coming up. Here is the checkered flag for Joop de Ligt, for Johnny Verhoef, for Manatee Racing. It's a 1-2, and I think actually Johnny Verhoef took the checkered flag there. And that's a bit of a surprise. De Ligt, did he run out of fuel? He did a 1:45.6 on the final lap, but it is going to be Mario Uri for Sim Racing Academy holding on to 3rd place in the end, in front of Martin van Loosnord, separated by 0.3 of a second. What a race, and what a drive from van Loosnord here. By the way, Sam Bentham drives his Ford GT, clean looking indeed. Home to 5th place, it's going to be Nicholas last and Robin DeVille. Oh, Robin DeVille, he's gotten past on Ryan Parkins here at the very end as well, I believe. And we didn't really catch exactly when that was. I'm going to see if I can just find something to go for at some point. I know it's lost on me where that happened, but Robin DeVille takes 7th, Ryan Parkins in 8th, and we've got Jeremy Hessels in 9th place with Ewan Marshall, 2nd of the Porsches, finishing in 10th. Jack Ashton's going to be coming home for 11th place. I'm just going to see if I can find that replay, because I really want to see what happened in that battle. We've been following it for so long indeed. The battle between Robin DeVille and Ryan Parkins.
Gotta say though, Hasse, that was one of the closest finishes I have ever seen. I know I've seen cars side by side for position, but I've never seen a driver go from the back end of the grid right the way to the front and just miss out on a podium position by 3.5 tenths of a second. That is an absolutely brilliant drive from Martin van Leesnord. It's a shame he didn't get the podium, but brilliant defensive work from Mario Iori. 100% earned the podium, and now we're going to see, I think, a replay. There we go.
Here it is, the move from Robin DeVille on Ryan Parkins, which I believe was on the final lap as well. And from what I can see on these pictures, nobody want to give him muscly. Oh, and they almost got it tangling up. Talking about close to heartbreak there on the final lap, but just with enough respect for one another. What a brilliant race here in the end. And I am going to take you to race results from Jack Werrell.
So a great drive from the Manatee guys. P1, P2. Johnny Verhoef takes the eventual win of Job de Ligt. We'll have to speak to one of those guys in the interview booth, whether it was Job de Ligt running out of fuel or deciding to let Johnny take the win here at round 5 at Imola. But Johnny Verhoef takes the eventual win from Job de Ligt. Mario Iori defended for his life, and it paid off. He rounds out the podium. Martin van Leesnord with a dominating drive all the way through the order, through all the classes and all the cars to finish P4. Sam Bentham, I think, I've got a sneaking suspicion he's a platinum driver, but for the moment, we're going to go off the assumption he's a gold driver. So Sam Bentham takes the win in the gold class for Ronin Simsport Academy. Nicholas Last finishes in P6. Robin DeVille just about getting Ryan Parkins on the last lap to finish 7th overall and P2 in class. Ryan Parkins crossing the line in P8. A good drive from the Strasser Porsche Sport driver, and Jeremy Hessels finishes P9 and rounds out the gold podium. Ewan Marshall rounds out the top 10 for Team 11, although it was a Meraki Racing livery. Jack Ashton finishes P11. Diego Hames P12. Daniel Handover in P13, battling race long with Marc-Antoine Thibault. Marc-Antoine Thibault finishes 14th. Pim Bao also starting from the pits, finishing P15. Bod Boland 16th. Martin van Reewijk finishing P17. We saw lots of the Team Simpact driver throughout the race. Neil Cooper finishing P18. Dries Mousty finishing P19. John Barnes 20th. Sebastian Herber, after a couple of mistakes, finishes P21. John Tusting P22. David Fuller, after a lot of off-track excursions, recovers to P23. Ryan Walker P24. Matthias Temmer in P25. Bart Daleman P26. Paul Gosling in P27. And I think Bram van Putten retired towards the end of the race. I think it was a connection issue, so 9 laps down for the G-Drive guys, and this is when we get into the retirements. So Jordan McClone, Tom Mettrell, Lee Deemer, and Austin Greatorex sadly not taking the checkered flag, Hasse, but that was one busy old race, and I went into Imola thinking this is going to be a surprise. I've never commentated here before. Could be some good racing, but good racing doesn't even come close to the amazing scenes we've seen this evening.
Absolutely brilliant racing we've had, and all the way to the line as well, as I think it's been the customary now from this series. We've had 5 good races in a row, and we haven't really had an off race. We haven't had a race where nothing's really happened. It's been, I wouldn't say non-stop action, because that'd be a lie anyways. I don't think that happens in any racing series, but we've had some really, really good races, and that's for half a season now. So evidence-based thinking would lead you to believe that the rest of the season is going to be an absolute banger as well. so don't miss a race. Now, coming into one of my favorite parts of these broadcasts, indeed. Let's see if we got any drivers ready for a bit of a interview.
We do.
We do indeed, and I'm gonna have a short word with Johnny Verhoef. Johnny,
Hi.
Johnny, welcome, and what a race! Explain to me in the end just what happened there on the line between you and Joop de Ligt. Now, Joop, your teammate, had been leading for the entirety of the race. Jack and I had a theory that he ran out of fuel, or was it team orders?
It wasn't team orders per se. It was his decision to let me buy because I was higher up in the championship. I certainly didn't ask him to do it, but it was nice.
That's very much so a gentleman's decision indeed. I have to say, that's some brilliant stuff to hear about. Very good race for you. You had a long battle with Mario Yuri out there today. Just how did that feel? Did that come across out on track?
Yeah, Joop was very quick. Mario was also very quick. I made this tiny mistake in the first stint, and then he showed his nose, and I let him by, hoping to save some fuel. But that didn't really work. And then he made another mistake in the second to last corner, I believe, where he spun. I almost spun without hitting him, and then we were quicker all of a sudden than him, and it was very intense.
Indeed, and Martin van Loosenoord also starting from the pits tonight to finish fourth, and
Yeah, he was
very much
he had insane pace. He
That's-
should have been, if he didn't do a pit start, then he would have probably lapped me. It's unbelievable his pace here, everywhere basically. I didn't know what happened to Bram. I believe I almost lapped him, but then he had a throughput.
Yeah, and that's true. He dropped out. All of a sudden, he was gone. The sim racing equivalent of a blown engine, even though you can't blow your engine in iRacing, though. But still, such bad luck indeed on that part. But just a last question for me before we let you round off with the shout-outs. A 1-2 for Manatee here today, halfway through the season. Still very close at the top of the standings. What are your thoughts here coming into the final 5 races?
Yeah, I believe we have a strong car, strong setups, but I think G-Drive is stronger. But we'll see. We'll give him a good fight.
All right. And is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to here before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to thank Ryan and his friend who shall not be named for the setups, and Joop for always practicing with me, and all the other guys at Manatee for always hanging out, and you guys for the awesome broadcast.
Well, thank you for joining us for this interview, Johnny. Congratulations on a beautifully driven win, and we can't wait to see you on track again in 2 weeks, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So that was some wise words from Johnny Verhoef. I'm gonna let you have a word with the gentleman that is Joop de Ligt, Jack Werrell. I'll just let you two at it immediately.
Welcome to the commentary box, Joop. We've heard you made quite a gentlemanly decision towards the end of the race, letting your teammate Johnny Verhoef by. He said that he didn't ask for it at all, and you just let him by because he was higher up in the championship. Is that something you really was planning to do, or was it just that as the situation played out, you thought, you know what, let's give him his time in the spotlight?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here, guys. Yeah, I mean, starting from the beginning of the season, I had a few not so great results, and I was falling behind in points to Johnny. And it is something I'd brought up to him before, but I mean, this race here seemed like pretty much the perfect opportunity. I mean, he's just way closer to the lead of the championship, and yeah, I figured, 10 points is a big amount of points difference for him, so he's gonna need it more than I am right now, and yeah, I hope he puts it to good use.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of opportunities, Bram van Putten, he didn't attend at Mosport, and tonight he had a throughput failure, so he disconnected from the session, meaning he lost out on points once again.
Oof.
And with you finishing P2, that is going to further extend, if not close the gap to Bram van Putten. So you're just going to end up building that gap once again. and that means that Manatee are on for a really good streak of points at the moment. Do you think that going into the final couple of rounds, because we've just passed the halfway point in the season, so we go to Silverstone, Suzuka, Road Atlanta, Daytona, and finally Spa. What as Manatee, or for Manatee as a team, what is their outlook going into the final half of the season?
Butts clenched, I guess. I mean, yeah, we're in the ballpark. Like we can still see Martin in the distance, but it's a long shot. I mean, we're just gonna have to give it all we have and work very hard on setup and just pure pace. Balance that with all the other things we've got to do as a team. But yeah, I think all we can do is just try and be as quick as we can and keep the off tracks as low as possible, so we don't have to take any penalties in that regard, like pit starts or quali, missing quali.
Well, speaking, go on.
No, that was it. I was going to say, so if we have that under control, then maybe we can get even closer, and yeah, with a bit of luck, who knows what can happen.
Yeah, definitely. Going into the final few races of the season, you never know what can happen. And speaking of pit starts, Martin van Loosenau today started in the pits and left the pit lane in 27th position. He recovered all the way up to 4th position and only finished 3.5 tenths away from a podium. You said you can see him in the distance, but how far away is the distance? Just seeing the pace of Martin this evening, is that something that you're really taking into account going into the final half of the season, knowing full well that he's got the potential to come from the very back to the very front?
I mean, we know that he can come from the very back to the very front. I have to say I was a bit surprised that the both of them chose this track actually for their pit starts or quali abstinence, I guess. Yeah, I mean his pace is amazing pretty much at every track, and all we can do is do the best that we can. I have to say I was keeping a very close eye on exactly what he was doing, and of course, someone being that far back, you have to kind of calculate as you're driving, like, okay, he's closing this much per lap, how much do I have to push? Can I be safe? Can I be do I have to be quicker? Do I have to sacrifice off tracks? And fairly soon into the race, I kind of figured out, well, okay, he is bloody quick, but he's not going to catch the two of us on pure pace on this race, fortunately. Obviously, that being said, he did start from the back, so we have some homework to do. But I think in general, if he doesn't make any big mistakes, and credit where credit's due, he hasn't made any big mistakes so far, he's going to run away with the championship. And like I said, the two of us, Johnny and I, we just have to be as close as we can be and be able to pounce him if anything happens to him.
Well, I'm sure you'll take all the opportunities available to you going into the rest of the season. Another massive well done to both you Manatee guys this evening. You did a brilliant job. But while we've got you in the commentary box and live on Simracersworld TV, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
You guys, obviously, again, for a great broadcast. Everyone on the team who was shouting us on and pulled us into a big channel as soon as we crossed the finish line to discuss what happened. But yeah, no, it's been great so far. So thank you guys.
No problem. And thank you very much for joining us in the box. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Silverstone.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
That was Job de Ligt, P2 finisher overall, just behind his Manatee teammate Hasse. And I think we've only got one more gentleman to bring into the commentary box, and it's Ryan Parkins.
It is indeed Ryan Parkins, and I'm going to have a word with our friend from the Strasse Porsche Sport teams. Ryan, top 10 finish today, and a very good and long battle with the good Robin DeVille, who got the better of you in the end. How did it feel out there on track for you today?
Hey chaps, it was great. Felt really good. I just knew I didn't have the pace of Sam Bentham and obviously Martin van Loosenau. No one can catch him. He's like a rocket ship. And then, yeah, Robin. I wasn't sure for the first two stints if he was saving fuel, so I was trying to save a bit of fuel. So I just let Sam go. I knew I was going to catch him. And then I was saving fuel, but then my pit entry was really bad twice. I probably lost like 5 or 6 seconds on that. And then on the last stint, I overfueled by about 15 litres. So in the last 5 laps, it's obviously really key. Robin could punch in some good laps in and catch me up, and I just had no chance to defend with 15 litres at the end. Oh well. It's good fun though, really good.
Indeed, and how did the Porsche 911 feel here tonight? We've seen it climb in pace. Do you think has there been a change at the BOP, or is it just the last couple of tracks, Mosport and Imola, that's been better suited to the characteristics of the Porsche?
As far as I know, the BOP stayed the same, hasn't changed, but it's just the amount of straights here in Mosport. There's just one, one long straight on each of them. There's not really much to go on it really, so you can easily keep up with the guys. But I'm still learning the setups of this car. I've literally only really ever driven this car for this series, so I'm still learning to set it up and try and get the most out of it. And I don't really do pit stops really in most series of racing, so I'm still learning.
It's a steep learning curve, a lot to pick up, but really good stuff there. So how was the feeling on the last lap? That battle with Robin DeVille, it seemed you were so reluctant to give him that position, but without a real choice in the end. Was that the feeling you had in the car as well, in that battle?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how much you got in the broadcast, but that started half a lap beforehand, just a couple of mistakes here and there, and then it just builds up and builds up, and he's on you. And then I slid into the second to last corner, and then the exit, he got a better one, which was great. And then, I tried to defend, but overshot and tried my best but I wasn't going to give it to him easily. He had to work for it. So it was really good. The car felt great, felt really good, solid. I just made some tiny mistakes at the end, but I definitely think the fuel helped. Well, I'm going to blame the fuel anyway, but if anything, it's my fault for putting too much fuel in, so who's blaming who? So.
Blame crew chief. Always blame crew chief.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ryan, before we let you go here from the booth, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yes, definitely Motorsport. Great team, very supportive, always helping and making sure we've got everything we need to enter these races. Support of everyone, like we had the whole team on the Discord. They couldn't all join for various reasons the race, but we're all on the Discord, all talking, supporting, and giving information when I asked for it. And everyone's lovely. It's beautiful. And you guys, thank you very much, guys. Very helpful. Love the broadcasts.
Oh, we enjoyed it a lot, both Jack and I tonight. So, and thanks for joining us in the booth for this interview. We'll let you go, and looking forward to seeing you on track again in 2 weeks' time. So, with that said, I think it's time to round off tonight's broadcast as well. It's been a really good race indeed. It's been a heck of a show, and I think if we can expect the same level of racing that we've had for the first half of the season, for the second half of the season, we're in for another bit of treats. Another 10 weeks of treats. Exactly. So it's gonna be really good, I believe, and do leave us a like in the YouTube video if you've enjoyed what you've seen. If you want to see more, you know where that subscribe button is. Do press the bell icon to get notified when we go live. That's an important one if you want to actually see what we're broadcasting here on Simracersworld TV. I think we'll have the Sunday GT3 World League on display this coming Sunday. And I do also believe that this coming Thursday, not tomorrow, because we'll have the GT Evo series, of course, of the SRW GT Evo series coming on tomorrow with Jack Werrell and Peter Mackay in the box. But speaking of the wizard, of course, Chas Draycott, who next Thursday is going to bring you the Sim Stickers Simracersworld F3 series. But from me, myself, Hasse Rømer, and from Jack Werrell, it has been our utmost of pleasures talking you through tonight's 5th round of the Simracersworld GT Pro Series, brought to you by Porsche Sport. We'll see you in another solid 2 weeks, and until then, take care, have fun, bye bye.